Hi everyone, it's Becky here. So it's a bright, beautiful autumn afternoon and we're going to Ladner Village, here sipping my cup of coffee at Ladner Harbour, enjoying the sunshine and the beautiful water and all the boats. And so this time I'm going to sketch the boat and the forest behind, and of course the water and the reflections in the foreground. So here is my setup. I'm putting my sketchbook and all my sketching materials, my watercolor palette, 2 water brushes, and 1 Sailor brand fountain pen over here on the picnic table. So here are the pretty simple set of materials. All I need to do a full page drawing and watercolors. I might use my pencil to do a draft first. So here's the view in front of me. I am all ready to go drawing directly with my Sailor brand fude fountain pen, starting with these major branches and connecting them together into the trunk. Now drawing the other tree here beside it. So these 2 trees are very much like twins or buddies, standing side by side, and then keep extending, branching out these branches into minor ones, and then adding these fluffy clusters of leaves. Now the clusters are getting looser now here in autumn because now the leaves are falling down and the canopies are getting smaller. There was a lot of large gaps in between. Keep adding some more clusters, just summarizing the forms of leaves with very quick organic patterns of squiggles, and just keep adding it on. So depending on the species of that tree and the location, how much sun and wind is getting, the time of the year that is changing color and losing its leaves is quite different from tree to tree. Adding some climbing ivy on the trunks of these trees, which is really special. And this is very much my foreground element. So when I'm doing urban sketching or landscape sketching, sometimes I like to find a foreground element just so it's easier to lay out the sizes and placements of the other things behind. So now I just drew the largest boat there in the middle of the water. It's part of the Fraser River here at Ladner Harbour. So when I'm drawing boats, I like to simplify them into large and medium trapezoid shapes. And inside these medium trapezoids, I see squares and rectangles of windows. And then the minor details like that little Canadian flag and little canopies, a bit of accentuation on the bottom and around the window panels. Now I'm drawing a smaller boat. Again, same idea, starting with the body of the boat and then building up those little squares and rectangles on top of the stretched trapezoid, adding some small details in between, like the stumps for anchoring the boat and a lot of wires. There's a boathouse behind in the distance. Now I'm starting to use pretty gentle hand pressure to draw these loose forms of trees. And don't forget the negative spaces in between these 2 trees and some more fluffy shapes. When I'm drawing details in the distance, I like to keep my hand pressure pretty gentle so the lines are not too thick and coming forward to compete with the foreground details. Now drawing some more smaller boats. Again, simplify them into trapezoid shapes. And I'm also forgetting about the idea that I'm actually looking and drawing boats. I just focus on the abstract shapes that I see as well as these lines of the mast and the wires. So again, I'm just relaxing and simplifying these boats into super abstract shapes and lines hanging in the air, especially the ones in the distance. Adding a bit of details for that boathouse on the bank, some more masts. And now building up the forest here on the left side, the fluffy, light, loose shape, and then the overlapping feel of these trees. And now I'm using these little segments of lines to depict the feel of shimmering water, as well as the reflections of these boats. And that's it. Here's the look of my finished line work. Took me about 25 minutes or so to draw, And now I can't wait to paint watercolors. As always, I like to start painting the sky first because it's always on the back. And just wetting the whole sky area with clear water, putting on a bit of diluted yellow ochre for the warm afternoon sunshine, illuminating these white clouds. So I'm going to start with the top of the sky, which is a diluted cerulean blue with a little bit of green mixed in. Yeah, and the bottom of the sky, using thin brush strokes, reaching into the cloud for a loose effect over there. Yeah, I think the moisture of the first layer is just right to put on the blue. So the blue and the yellow-white cloud is merging together without hard edges or brush strokes. And now I'm painting the first layer of the river. So I just mix my own green turquoise by mixing hooker's green with cerulean blue and using these loose horizontal segments of brush strokes for mainly the reflection of the foliage onto the surface of the river. So the colors of the water is very, very unstable, and it changes according to the time of the day, the time of the year, and the weather as well. So I see so many kinds of blues, greens, and turquoise. So basically I'm playing with lime green, cerulean blue, and hooker's green. Yeah, under the boats there's the shadow from the boats, which is a heavier blue. And some other areas is really bright yellow-green. Yeah, so basically on a sunny day, you're going to see a higher ratio of yellow greens and more vibrant greens on the surface of waters. Now I'm punching on these beautiful, charming golden colors for the foliage. So this is basically yellow ochre mixed with a little bit of orange. And I think for all deciduous trees, they start to change color from top to the middle and then the bottom. So yeah, so the bottom of this forest is still pretty green. So I'm just punching on a mix of lime green and a little bit of hooker's green, blending in a tiny bit of burnt sienna to shade the green a little bit, and just let this green to dance with the yellow green on top. And adding on some yellow orange in between. Yeah, some trees in the very back, they still have some green tops. Keep putting on dark shades of green, which contains a higher ratio of burnt sienna into hooker's green for the very bottom of the trees here. So the darkest shade of greens for foliage, usually they are on the bottom part of trees or the cluster. Now I'm punching on some golden color. The boles of these trees are illuminated by the late afternoon sunshine, which is a mix of yellow ochre and a little bit orange. Okay, so now I'm going to take a break from the forest, just let those colors to dry off a little bit. Now I want to paint my reflections on the surface of the river, which is very important. So this is a mix of cobalt blue and a little bit of hooker's green, a blue turquoise color, using choppy brushstrokes to follow the rippling movement of the river water. And the shade of blue turquoise is pretty intense around the edges of these boats and then spreading out into a lighter tone, closer to us, the viewer, in the foreground. Okay, with just some simple dashes of brush marks, I'm able to capture the spirit of water pretty effectively. Now, I'm painting the shaded area of these boats. So the sun is actually on the left. The right side of these boats are shaded. So I just use some leftover gray, diluted with a lot of water. These boats are mostly white. And then the left side facing the sun is getting some stain from the late afternoon sunlight. So I just put some diluted yellow on the left edges of these boats. Now I want to shade these boles and branches for these trees here in the foreground. So again, this is a mix of leftover turquoise and burnt sienna, a greenish brown. And some areas contains a higher ratio of burnt sienna for a golden look. And just using the leftover blues to shade in the window areas of these boats intensify the shaded areas on the right side, especially for this largest boat over here, for a sense of three-dimensionality. Okay, so just shading the very right edge of that boat so it pops out even stronger. Now it's time to come back to these trees. Now, as you can see, the previous layer is very much all dried, so it's easier to add on these crisp edges of brushstrokes for higher contrast. So if the previous layer is too wet, as you're adding on these brushstrokes, these lovely values might get dissolved by the water in that previous layer. So as well, I'm also adding some retouches of golden colors, mix of yellow ochre and orange. Also for the canopy of these trees here in the foreground, a beautiful golden shine, mix of yellow ochre and orange, tiny bit of green. Yeah, and this tree here is actually yellow brown tone. Yeah, some stronger hooker's green mixed with brown for these muted greens, and also yellow browns. It's pretty hard to define those colors with words, so I'm just playing with the ratios of burnt sienna, hooker's green, yellow ochre, and also playing with amount of water mixing in for pretty much every single brushstroke to create these interesting shades of greens, brownish greens, yellow greens for this autumn forest color scheme. Yeah, again, shading the bottom of the forest with a very intense and muted green or brownish green. And if you want to make your watercolors look more interesting, you really have to play around with a limited color palette and mix your own unique colors from scratch. There's a huge spectrum of colors if you just use 2 or 3 colors. Now I'm adding some contrast for the canopies of the trees in the foreground. Again, this is hooker's green mixed with burnt sienna, using little tiny dots of brushstrokes for the sharp leafy texture, as well as for the climbing ivies here along the trunks of these trees. Some darker brown to shade the right side of the trunks, just so the trees look more three-dimensional. Some deeper shaded areas for the higher branches. Alright, so now moving on to the final polishing stage. Okay, adding some vibrant reds for the little mass of the boat. Apparently this little boat there is actually blue, so I just used cobalt blue to color it in, and some more red little objects hanging around the boat. Some more retouches of yellow orange for the top of the forest. Yeah, the lighting condition is changing really rapidly later in the afternoon. Alright, so I think that's very much it. Here is a look of my finished sketch. It took me 45 minutes to draw and paint on location before the lighting condition, the colors are looking too different. Okay, so thank you so much for watching this video, everyone. If you like it, please click like and leave me a comment below. Subscribe to my channel for weekly updates. I update my channel with 2 to 3 new videos every week, and I'll see you again very soon in the next couple of days. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.